Hello ladies, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Aisha. I'm a certified trauma-informed coach and manifestation guide, and I am on a mission to help 1 million women become their most confident and successful selves through the use of law of assumption and manifestation. So today's video is going to be a kind of fun one for me. It's a little bit personal. I guess it's very personal. But it obviously by the topic, it is affirming when you have ADHD. So my brain is like a race car. The engine just wants to go, 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 go. It wants to be on to the next thing, 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 even if it's something I'm really interested in. And rarely, occasionally, I do get the ability to do what is called hyper focus, which is kind of like being stuck on the same gear and not being able to shift from that gear for a while. But most of the time, my brain is like, yeah, there's so much going on. So I figured, let's talk about that. Let's talk about chaos brain. Let's talk about squirrel brain. Let's talk about how our brains can jump around, and that can be sometimes hard to be in a new routine, to be in a new habit, to repeat the same affirmations over and over again, and whether or not you even need to. Primarily, I'm going to be focusing on affirming with ADHD, but this goes for scripting as well. It goes for visualizing, it goes for state akin to sleep and self-hypnosis. It goes for all of the practices, all of the techniques that you could possibly think of when it, as it relates to manifestation. So I think number one technique in the world is affirmations, because an affirmation is just a thought. And we all think it's something like 70,000 thoughts a day. I would beg to differ. I think I am on the highest end of whatever scale. It's like 70 to 100,000. I'm sure I'm closer to 100,000 because my brain is just go, 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 go. So, although we did just complete a 30-day affirmations challenge where I did pick 3 affirmations that I said every single day for those 30 days, and I really made sure that I said them every day. Obviously, I had to show up and be accountable by filming my videos. But also a couple times throughout the day, I would affirm, okay, I see I'm doing this activity, it makes me feel like a healthy person. I'm gonna affirm I'm a healthy person, right? I see this proof that I'm manifesting something very well. I'm gonna affirm that I'm an expert at manifestation. Or, wow, this is a desire that I had manifested and I get to experience it right now. I am indeed experiencing my desires right now. So those were my 3 affirmations. What I did notice is during that 30 days, it didn't feel like pressure. I didn't feel really worried or stressed about making sure I said my affirmations. It was really fun because it was a challenge, and maybe that's only because I was the host of the challenge. I can't speak for how it is to participate because I never participated in a challenge like that before. I've actually never seen a 30-day affirmation challenge like that before. I don't want to say I created it, but it popped in my brain one day and I was like, that's a good idea, we're doing it. So when it came to that structured form of using affirmations, did I see any difference in the progress compared to my normal way of affirming, which is just kind of random? I do have certain affirmations, like obviously, like I'm a healthy person is something I've been saying since the beginning of my weight loss journey. So it's been, oh my gosh, almost 3 years now. Wow. December of 2021 is when I started to really intentionally like start to do actions and change my mindset towards losing weight. So it's been almost 3 years that I'm a healthy person. It's been in my repertoire. It's been in my like toolbox of standard affirmations that I've used. However, I will say using it structurally in 30 days, and on top of just saying the affirmation, but also having the accountability of showing up to my videos as that healthy person, I do believe it really made a difference in how quickly that affirmation felt real for me. Now, again, back to how I normally affirm, which is like just whatever feels right in the moment. So let's say I'm struggling with, or let's say I have like a bill that came up and maybe I don't yet have the money for it, and the way that it's coming in, I'm like, okay, I'd have to move money. Instead of being like super stressed and frantic and like super rapid affirming, I'm like, it'll take care of itself. it'll take care, like the money's gonna come. It'll take care of it itself. Or I'll be like, well, money hasn't failed me yet. Like money's always been there for me. And when I say things like money's always been there for me, I will make a whole other video on like the topic of money at some point. Which actually reminds me, we do have a community poll. If you go to the channel page and then the community tab, it'll be all the way on this side of the page. You actually can vote for November's video. And one of the topics is finances. So anyways, when I do affirm for money, when I say money's always been there for me, I don't mean that money always came in exactly when I expected it to. I don't mean it always came in the exact amount I expected it to, or it always came at like in the same way I expected it to. However, if I am alive, if I have clothing on my body, if I have food in my belly, if I'm drinking water, if I'm recording this on a $1,500 smartphone, if I am living in a home, if I own a car that I can drive, if most of my bills are paid most of the time, like, hello, that's been my reality my whole life. Like, money's always been there for me. Of course it's always been there for me. Are you crazy to say that it hasn't been? Like, if I'm being taken care of at this point, and it's been many, many years, even the years that I was like really struggling, and I don't want to say I was broke, but like obviously that's a mentality, that's a whole conversation in itself. But when I was in like high school and college, like I didn't have this extra money to spend. I couldn't just go and do things for myself like without feeling stressed or frantic about it. Like money wasn't just there for me. However, being alive means I've always had enough money, because if I really, 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 really didn't have enough money, and money is an energy, like I wouldn't be alive anymore. We need money for so many things. And like, even like I consider my possessions money. This is money because it costs money. And if I lost it, it would cost money to replace it. And before I had it, it cost money to get it. Therefore, this is equal to money. That's kind of how I see things. So besides that tangent, I tend to just have random affirmations, like whatever feels right in my head. And sometimes I'll take like inspiration from other people's affirmations. So like, everything is always working out for me. I am wanted, chosen, and kept in love. Like I did use those for a little bit. I kind of like everything is always working out for me. But I don't use it as much as I used to. And I find like sometimes if you're using an affirmation that somebody else has shared with you or somebody else has like created for themselves, it doesn't always fit. It doesn't always feel natural. And it's different than like when I was unhealthy and I was trying to say I'm a healthy person. Like it's not because the phrase I'm a healthy person wouldn't come out of my mouth. It wouldn't make sense in how I talk. It was that was a new identity. So that's the discomfort that you're always going to feel. If you're using a new affirmation and you're affirming for a new identity, especially if it's one you've never been, it's a little bit different if it's something you've been before, right? Let's say you're affirming for your athleticism, and when you were younger in your teen years, you were very athletic. In your early 20s, you became less athletic, and now in your late 20s, you're going back to being athletic. That is like the discomfort. That's one thing. Being a whole brand new person, there's going to be a little bit more discomfort, but I'm talking about like when you read like Louise Hay affirmations where it's like, I have a magic purse and it whatever, or like Neville has these affirmations, and Dolores Cannon, like I am lavishly compensated, and I'm just like, I don't talk like that. So that's what I mean by like unnatural. It's not that what I'm affirming for is uncomfortable to me, right? If I say I make $100,000 a month, I feel pretty much like tightness in my body. I'm like, that feels like a lie. My body goes, that does not feel like the truth. That's a different kind of discomfort than like saying affirmations that use a bunch of words and like, you know, fancy vernacular that you just don't use in your everyday speech. That I don't recommend. I don't recommend that to anybody. So generally, I will, instead of borrowing affirmations, or if I hear an affirmation, I will take some of it and turn it into my own custom affirmation, and then I just utter them whenever I feel like. So a lot of times, like especially if you have ADHD, your brain is like, oh, I gotta do this and I gotta do that. And oh, that's, especially if you're an entrepreneur, oh, that's a great business idea. And I'm always like, you know what, that's the best business idea ever. And I'm really tired and I don't want to get up and write it down. I'll remember it in the morning. I'm affirming to myself, like, I'll remember it in the morning. And then poof, it's gone. So my brain will not hold on to any one thing for a prolonged period of time unless I get it to stick, and getting it to stick is a challenge in itself. I have yet to figure out one solid method that always works to get it to stick. But besides the point, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when or how or whatever, as long as like you're doing it, as long as there's a consistency. I might not say that I'm a healthy person every day. I might not say I make $100,000 a month every day, but I'm always affirming for my health and my wealth and my spiritual connection and my friendships, my relationships. Like, I'm always affirming for my identity in some way. So when I'm washing the dishes, if I'm not like listening and consuming content that is related to manifestation, just because I like it, I'm interested in it, or like psychology, behavioral, relationships, childhood development, trauma, things like that, I like to absorb that content to stay up to date so that my coaching is valuable. It's part of being an entrepreneur. But also I like to watch it for the mental diet upkeep, and because it lets me try different techniques, it lets me play around, it feels fun for me. So I don't do it as a chore. I don't, like, if I'm doing actual household chores like washing dishes, scrubbing toilets, like I'm affirming because that's what feels like a good use of my brain power at the time. I don't have to think really hard to wash dishes. Like, it's been my household chore since I was 9. Like, once I was 9, that was my household chore. I did the dishes pretty regularly. Like, that was just it. So when I do the dishes now, almost 20 years later, I don't think about it. I don't put a lot of effort or mental energy into it. So my brain wanders. It goes, oh yeah, that's cool. And oh yeah, I remember that thing. And oh hey, that would be really fun to try. And like, my brain just jumps and jumps and jumps. So rather than allowing it to just wander freely in the grand scheme of consciousness, picking any random thought, I go, let me affirm. Let me use this mental energy towards something that I actually am desiring with intention, rather than just being a human on a rock floating in space. So when you have ADHD, it can be really stressful a little bit, and it can be kind of frustrating if you let it, to fall off of your habits, to fall out of the cycles, like thinking, okay, I have to be on I'm doing a scripting challenge, so I have to script every day for 7 days. And then you don't do it. Like, a lot of times people with ADHD, because of how society has raised us and really like groomed us to be, is that we are meant to do everything exactly as it's supposed to be every single time on time. Like, excuse me, especially the public school system, it's designed for factory work. Like, the history of public schools was designed to produce factory workers. And what do you do in a factory? You do the same like activity, you do the same action in the same way every time, on time, without fail. So like, if it's your job to pull the lever every time like the next thing comes on the machine, you gotta pull the lever. That's very repetitive, it's very structured, and if you don't do it on time every time, it will cause problems in the supply chain. And so like, we were kind of encouraged, nurtured, forced, pushed into this structure of, you have to do it exactly this way. There's only one right way to do it. And if you don't do it this way, you're bad because you get a bad grade. We don't call it high grades and low grades. Like, we call it good grades and bad grades. And if you have a bad grade or bad grades, you're a bad kid. And if you get good grades, you're a good kid. Like, it's so value driven, and it's so against what is natural for kids with ADHD. People with ADHD have the most creativity of the general population. Like, the parts of our brain that are hindered and make routine and habit difficult are compensated by the parts of our brain that are lit up by challenge, problem solving, urgency, and variety, which makes us more creative. Like, problem solving is the basis of creativity, and our brains are literally wired for that. So if you take nothing away from this message today, don't be hard on yourself if you fail to complete your routines or complete your affirmations or do your scripting or whatever, whether it's perfectly or on time or however you're judging yourself. Like, just don't. Let your brain flow the way it needs to flow. And my mentor actually, like, she talks about her story and she talks about how she has ADHD, and she picked 4 affirmations that she would say to herself every day. And like, now that I've completed a 30-day challenge where I did that, I know that I can do that. I know I'm capable of doing that. However, it's really difficult. It was really difficult for me to lock in on only those 3 affirmations. And even then, I said them a couple times a day, maybe a few times a day, certain days, and I pretty much forgot about them the rest of the time. Whereas, like, if I'm just affirming on my own, my random affirmations, they may be slightly different every time, but they're conveying a general theme. So if the general theme is that I'm becoming more successful, or like, I'm growing as a person, it doesn't really matter that every single line of my affirmations list in a whole day, in a whole week, across a whole month is different. It doesn't really matter how you say what you're saying, and it doesn't matter how many times you say it, and it doesn't matter whether you're saying the exact same thing and it means something. You don't even have to feel it. You don't have to feel it real. You don't have to have an emotional tie to your affirmations or your methods. Like, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. The one thing that you need is persistence. And another word for persistence is just repetition. So any type of human brain, whether you have ADHD or not, requires repetition for you to get the new thought in, for you to get the new belief and assumption to lock in and sink in. And the reason for this is your brain is sending these electrical pulses, like, they're talking to each other all day long. Like, it gets sent, it gets received, and this gets sent and this gets received, and just goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like, your wiring is talking to each other. And what happens is our beliefs get so practiced that our brain just gets really good at going back and forth between those beliefs, those assumptions, those thoughts, those memories, those feelings. It just gets really good because we've had a lot of practice at it. So the more that you practice confidence, for example, you don't have to say, I'm a confident person. You can say, I feel confident when I get up out of bed and I dress myself well. I feel confident when I smell nice and I have good hygiene. I feel confident when I exercise my skills at work. I feel confident when I show up for my, specific person. Like, you can affirm for confidence in a multitude of ways, and eventually you'll wire confidence. The signal for confidence will get wired into your brain. And that's the other thing about confidence, is you can be very confident with money and have almost no confidence in relationship, or vice versa, or you can suck at both, to be honest. I mean, been there. Ask me how I know. So rewiring your brain is just putting in more good input than the natural output that's already there is outputting. And the more good input you put in, which means the more you repeat affirmations, the more you do your scripting, the more that you do it. And it's not in an obsessive way, but it's just every day are you doing it? Every day are you committed to this stuff? Every day are you determined to believe that you're a confident person? Every day are you affirming that you're a successful person? Are you acting like a successful person? Like, you have to continue putting in those behaviors, those assumptions in some way, shape, or form. So a lot of people with ADHD, they're going to stress about it. They're going to feel like, I can only do it this one right way. There's no one right way. And as someone who has manifested I've been doing this consciously for 3 years, it doesn't matter. You can fall off the horse a million times, and you can be super rigid and you're still not going to see results. So instead of using that energy, that mental energy, to judge yourself and to shame yourself for not doing the affirmations and techniques the right way, or on time, or as much as you should, okay? Because those are all statements of judgment and they're not helpful. Just say, yeah, I'm always affirming, like I'm always manifesting correctly. I'm always affirming correctly. My affirmations always upgrade my subconscious. My affirmations always work for me. Like my methods, my techniques always work. I'm always manifesting well. Like you have to put in this overall assumption that you're not doing anything wrong with it, or you'll constantly be like growing and shrinking and growing and shrinking and growing and shrinking, and you're never going to get anywhere. It's like you're in this constant circle, like a dog chasing its tail. So I know that the ADHD chauffeur took us on a ride today. So I'm going to end this video here and just remind you that like it doesn't matter. The repetition is what's most important. You don't have to say the exact same affirmation every day. You don't even have to use affirmations every day. If you prefer, like one day you use affirmations and one day you're just scripting and one day you're just visualizing, it doesn't matter. The point is to just keep doing it. Keep choosing the new version of yourself. Keep choosing to believe the new belief. And eventually, right, it could take overnight and it could take 10 years. It doesn't, you know, it's up to you how you receive it, how, you know, how you let it change you, how you let the work on you, how easy it is for you to let go of the old story and let go of that resistance. How easy it is for you to stop being double-minded and saying yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and go, actually, yes, we're all in. We are 2 feet in the pool. We are doing this. We are who we say we are. We're doing what we say we're going to do, and we're getting what we say we're going to get, period. So I intend that this video was helpful. Thank you for appreciating my silly ADHD brain, and I hope that if you do have ADHD and you're watching this, it motivated you and it gave you permission to like chillax for a little bit, like be easy on yourself. It's hard enough to be an ADHD person in the world, like let alone being hard on yourself for your manifestations. Like don't do that. Don't do that. Be kind to yourself. You deserve to enjoy this process and turn it into play. It's fun. It's fun to manifest. It's fun to affirm. It's fun to let your brain come up with crazy things to say and visualize and script about. Like let it be fun. Let it be like play. I really appreciate everybody for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.